What's up, folks? We just have a couple things I got to do really quick. Hang on. I love this country so much. Let me know that everything is good and you guys can hear me and everything while I get all my details loaded up here. Let me know where you're listening from, what you're up to later today, all that sort of stuff. All right, I think we're just about ready to go. Let me know that you guys can hear me okay and everything. And we'll get going. I think I have all my my figures ready. Let me do a test real quick. I had some technical difficulties. I was trying to get my switchboard to work, and I just couldn't get the darn thing to do what I wanted it to do. So we're going to do this the old-fashioned way, and this is going to just be a real quick sound check. Can you hear this? Nope, I don't think that worked. So instead, we'll do this.
Awesome.
And we'll just do that whenever we want to use the sound effect. Oh boy. 5x5 from Wyoming, thank you. Might boost the mic a bit. Okay. Let's do that. How does that sound? A little bit better on the mic? Yep. It also is very much dependent on where I'm at. If I do this, then it's actually a halfway decent mic. So that might be a thing. I might need to adjust this throughout the show. But I had to take it apart, and did I put it together correctly or not? I'm not entirely sure whether I did. So, thanks for the feedback on that. We'll monitor that throughout the stream to make sure we're sounding good. So it's been kind of a little bit of a crazy week, guys. I've been enjoying watching it all unfold, as many of you have as well. And today, obviously, we're going to be doing a lot of making fun of the situation out west. But also, we have a couple serious topics to talk about as well today that I wanted to sprinkle in there. And of course, the way these live streams work, very impromptu on Sunday afternoon, just to kind of refresh all the stuff that happened throughout the week, stuff that I didn't do dedicated videos on, some of the stuff I did do dedicated videos on, just to kind of have a good discussion with you guys. And of course, we can talk about whatever you want. We can discuss the gun stuff. We can discuss the political stuff. We can talk about cooking or Warhammer or whatever the heck else it is that you guys want to talk about. And you just put it in the chat, and maybe we'll get to it today. So, as always, these live streams are sponsored by First Form. So I will have, actually, I failed to do this really quick. Hang on a second. Let me go get my my pinned comment here so I can throw it up in the chat. If you use that affiliate link there, then it lets First Form know that I sent you. So if you would be so kind as to do that, I appreciate you guys very much. Browserwares, I use several of their products throughout the week, and today's live stream is sponsored by them, and we will have one winner today. And the last couple winners have not contacted me, but we will have one winner today, and the winner will receive a value pack from First Form. We're talking a couple different flavors of their protein bars, a couple different flavors of their meat sticks, And by couple, I mean hopefully 4 if I haven't eaten through all the flavors already. And that'll be sent out. So to win today's live stream prize, you must come up with a good name for our first topic. And let me switch over to my figures here. If you guys didn't see this one, you're in for a treat. We're just going to play this on loop here. This is a protester in Portland, Oregon, wearing one of those blow-up kind of like costumes to hide their identity. And that is an ICE agent spraying OC spray into the air hole. And I tell you what, this could not make me more happy. My goodness gracious, I saw this and I was like, this is the greatest thing that I've seen all week. And I realize now that we are playing audio, so my bad. So you guys probably heard the audio enough, and I probably muddled it a whole bunch of times. But basically, just to reiterate, what we're seeing here is an ICE protester of some kind of persuasion. Who knows? You can do your own guessing. Being sprayed with pepper spray in their air hole. So to win today's live stream prize, you must give a good name. And the funniest name wins for our froggo over here. I think it's a frog. It looks like a frog. But best comment wins. And you win a value pack from First Form, a couple different flavors of their meat sticks, a couple different flavors of their protein bars. Go at it, boys and girls. And I have just one thing to add to that, and that is
awesome.
I really wish I could get my switchboard to work today. I couldn't figure out it. You know what I'll do is I'll hang this. No, that's not going to work. Anyway, I saw this and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. So let me pull my stuff back up because I just mixed a whole bunch of stuff around on the screen here. Let's go back to the... And we have a super chat here from the Cook Menagerie. The frog's pot boileth over. Oh, man. I tell you what. I showed my... I was sitting there, we were throwing sticks for the dog the other day, and my mother-in-law came out, and she was sitting on the step next to me, and I was like, did you see this? She's like, that's the greatest thing that has happened in Portland in a long time. Kermit the Maced, yes, indeed. Go ahead and roll it, guys. And as usual, we will be giving preferential treatment in the comments to the live chat. So it behooves you to tune into the live chat. But if nobody wins from the live chat, then we will go to the VOD comments. So make sure that you send this one out, boys and girls. So, so when it comes to this problem here, I've seen lots of things that have been posted throughout the last week on whether this is legal or not legal, or whether it's what they voted for or not voted for. And, you know, the degeneracy that is fueling this, I found one video that I think sums this up perfectly, and we are going to play this man uninterrupted because I think that he did a fantastic job. This is 2 minutes, so we'll switch you over to our live stream figures here. And I want you to hear what this guy says.
What's happening in Portland would never happen here in Florida. It just wouldn't. And what that lets you know is it doesn't have to happen. Why isn't what's happening in Portland happening in Florida right now. It was a funny, while I was working somewhere when the protest was going on recently about ICE, one of the Democrats at a job I was at, they said, don't, that she called one of her friends. She said, don't play that. They don't play that in Florida. Don't be down there protesting, standing in front of vehicles. Because our governor immediately made a video and said, if anybody is standing in front of roads, they have the permission to be run over. And they were very serious. Our sheriff said the same thing. Democrats create these environments because these people know that there are not going to be consequences to their actions. So that's why they're standing in front of roads. People who are hardworking Portland people who are not political, maybe they're just trying to get to work, are being stopped, threatened. They're fearful for their lives. They're by Antifa flags and Palestine flags. People who need to be, a lot of these people aren't even from this country, waving flags, threatening people who pay taxes, and their lawmakers, because they're some of them are too stupid to understand they need to stop voting for these people that let your life be in jeopardy. In Florida, we don't play that. We are a law and order state. You in Florida have the right to protest, but on the sidewalk. If you step in front of somebody's car and you attack law, I was just at a press conference with DeSantis, and he said to the media all across Florida, if anybody does that in Florida, I'm letting you know right now, you will get prosecuted. If you attack ICE, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of law. If any of those governors in Portland or the governor, or any of the elected officials got up and said that, you would immediately see all that stop. All that Antifa stuff would immediately stop. But they know the state, the mayors and all that, they're not gonna say anything. So that's why they're down there threatening people and attacking vehicles and all that stuff. Just wouldn't happen here in Florida. That means it doesn't have to happen.
All right, if you agree, let's get a based in the comments, boys and girls. Man, I tell you what, that was a good one. He's 100% correct. And I know that it's not just Florida. I know that Tennessee and a couple other places have said that if you're out doing this and you're disrupting, you will be arrested. And if you're blocking traffic, then you will be run over. So if you can hit a protester that is blocking traffic in your state, then I want you to sound off in the live chat right now with your state, because I would like to know where all the places are where if we run up on one of these things, then we can just say, you know what? I got places to be. Obviously, you don't.
Awesome.
Let's go back to the chat here for a second. Let me find it. What did I do with it? There it is. Based. Yes, I finally got my chat back up. I don't think that we can do it here in the state of Ohio. I'd have to look that up. I'd have to see. But there was a big movement where several states basically said, "Hey, yeah, you can just do it." Now, when it comes to this whole thing with the National Guard, I think that it's actually very smart what they're doing. Whether you agree with it or not, I personally am cool with them doing what they're doing. But when it comes to the lawlessness and trying to roll up these domestic tourists, usually when you see these incidents happen in like Chicago, Portland, all these leftist cities that are basically they've infected and infested the local police departments. And when these people get arrested for burning cars and breaking windows and throwing bricks and all that sort of stuff, when they get arrested for that, they end up dealing with the local authorities. And the local authorities, again, get a call from somebody that says, turn these people loose, or the judge is lenient, or something like that. There's always a mechanism that these people are put back out on the street. We covered some of this corruption with like the Irina Zaruska situation where the judge in that case, the last magistrate to see that violent murderer, is actually invested in some of those programs. So there's some corruption angle there. Well, when you have these Antifa terrorists that get rolled up in these mostly peaceful protests, they end up getting let go, and the charges usually go away and all that sort of stuff. Well, that's if you get rolled up by the locals. With them bringing in the National Guard and federal agents into these locales, you get rolled up by those guys on federal charges, like striking a federal officer, or, you know, any of those sort of things, or obstructing a federal investigation. There's probably some specific ICE crimes that I'm just not particularly aware of. I'm sure that they exist, but anyway, then now you're at the mercy of Harmeet Dillon. Notice I didn't say Pam Bondi because I don't believe that she actually knows what room she's in. But anyway, the point there is now you're dealing with the feds. And if you look at these videos of these people that are like super hard, you know, when they're going up against the cops in front of cameras and stuff like that, and then you see what they're doing once they got them in the holding cell and they realize that the game's up and they're no longer just going to be playing with the local authorities and they're going to get churned out really quick, and that they're actually being charged with federal crimes. Yeah, it's kind of fun to watch. I'm not going to lie. I very much enjoyed doing that this week. Now, the other thing that I would like to touch on is that there is an insidious angle here when it comes to all of this, because we are talking about and I think rightfully so, a designated terrorist organization. And thankfully, none of the agents that are there just doing their job in this next story were actually injured. But what I wanted to do was share this story with you guys, because this is pretty bad.
All right, welcome in here to Live Now from Fox. We are following some breaking news, just getting this in here. Let's put this up on your screen as we're learning Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem saying she's going to deploy more special operations to Chicago. Here's what this says. Today in Chicago, members of our brave law enforcement were attacked, rammed, and boxed in by 10 vehicles, including an attacker with a semi-automatic weapon. I'm deploying more special operations to control the scene. Reinforcements are on their way. If you see a law enforcement officer today, thank them. This post coming shortly after we did see another social media post here from Department of Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin, after she shared that federal agents were rammed and boxed in by 10 cars in Broadview, Illinois, and that's where anti-U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement crowds have been gathering for days. DHS said agents were unable to move their vehicles and they had to exit. One of the drivers accused of ramming into the law enforcement vehicle was armed with a semi-automatic weapon, as we just shared with you here. McLaughlin said officers, quote, were forced to deploy their weapons and fire defensive shots at an armed U.S. citizen. McLaughlin also noted that the armed woman, who was a U.S. citizen, was named in a Customs and Border Protection Intelligence Bulletin. The woman allegedly doxed agents. No law enforcement officers were seriously injured during this incident, adding that the situation is evolving as you are taking a live look now at Chicago. The agents were reportedly performing a routine patrol in Broadview, which is a suburb of Chicago, when the alleged assault occurred. Now, I also wanted to share here some video that we do have from yesterday, as Fox News witnessed more than a dozen protesters being arrested in the streets near the ICE processing center.
So I think you guys get the gist there. Oop, hit a button. I think you guys get the gist there of what's going on. So we've got these officers that are doing something, and 10 cars box in their vehicle. And one of them gets out with a weapon. So they exchange gunfire. The person with the gunfire, who took the gunfire, was one of their persons of interest, shall we say, that has basically been posting the personal information of these officers all over the place and their whereabouts and all that sort of stuff. Well, yeah. So that person, their name has not been released, but let's just say if you go to the hospital for gunshot wounds, I know that it is Chicago, but that was a really bad joke. I'm sorry. Yeah, my soul blackened a little bit on that one. But they're going to find you, right? So they've probably got this person in custody already. And I would say that, I don't know, you bring that person in, they're already wounded, so it's not like they're going to be going anywhere. I think you press on that person and get them to roll on their whole organization. That would be what I would do. But what's interesting about, so that's Chicago. We were talking about Portland. And when it comes to, you know what? I forgot to pull this story up. Let me find it really quick. Yeah, so here it is. This was from, I think I saw this yesterday. Yeah, we'll use the Associated Press on this one. You know what? It's probably best that they don't have a picture. I don't really. But this will just be, yeah, it's got her name. That's good enough. I don't really want to show a picture of her. This is from the Associated Press. So this is an interesting angle that I wanted to talk about with you guys and get your guys' thoughts on it because, yeah, since we need more of those. So the judge, of course, her name is Karen. You can't make this up. You cannot make this shit up, folks. Karen, right there. So Judge Karen blocks. She's a Trump appointee, actually, now that I look at it. She blocks his ability to deploy the National Guard. So I'm pretty sure that that's not legal. I'm pretty sure that she can't block that, or she can block that temporarily. It's within her power to do, obviously, right? She can do that, but is it constitutional for her to stop that is the question. And that has another implication to it that I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on. I'm trying to get my live chat back up. We got a super chat here from the gas station boner bill vet. Democratic nominee, AG Virginia. Look it up. I don't know what that means. So I read it. I did my duty. But the judge blocks his order to to send the National Guard into Portland. Now, I'm a little bit rusty on this, but the governor can deploy National Guard. If the governor refuses to deploy National Guard, then the President of the United States can outrank the governor in a case of a national emergency and send federalized National Guard troops to any locale that's having a major problem. There's precedent for this. If she blocks him from doing that, that's really just a temporary respite. really, because that's going to get overruled. The next layer of courts are going to, well, actually, is that a district? Is she a district court? It doesn't say whether she's district court judge. So the appellate court is likely to overrule her. And if they don't overrule her, then Trump's going to go to the Supreme Court, right? They're going to ratchet. This isn't going to end tomorrow, folks. This is going to go on for a while. So she's provided a little bit of respite for the Antifa forces on the ground. And I use that term specifically. I use temporary and Antifa specifically because if this judge is acting extra constitutionally to block Trump's order to send troops to combat a designated terrorist organization that has besieged federal agents at a federal facility, I think that does fall within the power of the president to do. I think it does. The question is she aiding a terrorist organization? That's liable to get very, very interesting. And with Harmeet Dillon on this whole thing, like, she's got a hard-on for Portland. I would be very interested. She's pretty much the only person that I like in this government. I mean, there's a few others, but she's pretty much it. I could see her doing something like that. And you want to talk about a major deterrent, because even if the charges don't stick, even if they say, well, we're charging you with sedition in a wanton act to materially support through your office a terrorist organization, you only need to do it to one. Is any other judge in the country going to go through that punishment? I don't know. Maybe they will, because, a lot of these folks are activists. It does give me a little bit of pause that it is a Trump appointee judge, though. I had not heard that previously. That's an interesting angle, from his first term, obviously. But I don't know. What do you guys think on that? I think that might be that could be a good one. Is it on purpose? Is she doing that? Is she on the take? Is she in the loop? Is Karen in the loop, or do you think that she's doing it on her own activist volition? I don't know. I really don't know. But I think it's fascinating. The whole thing out there is fascinating. So what I want to do now is switch gears. But before we switch gears, another super chat. Gas station boner pill vet. Thank you for the super chat. $5 super chat. Democrat non-AG in Virginia wanted Republican unalived by his. Do you have a web? Okay, so basically what this is, what the gas station boner pill vet is saying here is that there is a Democrat AG in Virginia that has been making statements that would suggest that they are pushing for violence against a certain political group. We'll put it that way. If you've got anything that would support that, put it in the chat, and we can pull it up. We can do it live if you want. If you find it, go ahead and put it in there, and maybe we'll come back to it. So, we are going to shift gears here in a minute, but I want to remind you that this video or this live stream is sponsored by First Form, and one lucky winner will be getting a value pack from them. A couple different types of their meat sticks, a couple different flavors of their protein bars, and to win, you must come up with the best comment for this froggy boy right here. this Antifa terrorist that is being spicied in their suit. Best comment wins. We'll hit this one more time before the end of the stream today. So go ahead and best comment wins. Go ahead and put it up there. I'm excited to read all these when I get back around to it. So apparently that whole Virginia thing is he sent texts that and people are saying that it's been verified. Well, I don't. You guys got to show it. Do you have the dude's name? Because then I can punch it in. We'll do it live. Hang on. Let's see. Virginia AG texts. This is, you know what? I'm just going to let you, you know what? I'm just going to, I don't feel comfortable quoting these. So, you know what? We're going to get them in their context. I don't feel comfortable saying this on a live stream on YouTube. So, here it is. So, this is our dude, or here's the headline. Here's our boy, Virginia Attorney General candidate Jay Jones, and the former Virginia House Republican leader Todd Gilbert. And here's some of those things that he said. I don't think that I can say this. I can't quote this live. But this is an elected official in the state of Virginia. Well, wait a minute. AG. I don't know if the AG is elected in Virginia. So don't quote me on that. But this is a public official that is saying this sort of stuff. So that's a good find, boys and girls. Good find. Good job. Thanks for bringing that to light. I would spend more time on it, but I don't want to leave that up on the screen because that's bad. That's very bad. So again, we're gonna switch gears here because I got another topic that I want to talk to you guys about that I didn't cover this week because I got to be honest, I'm kind of black-pilled on the Supreme Court these days. They have not been very good lately in their desire to correct the wrongs that are constantly being perpetrated in our society by rogue government elements, we'll say. And they have decided to take up a Second Amendment case. And I first saw this on my my buddy Braden Langley's channel. And my response when he was covering it live on his show was, yeah, the Supreme Court's going to fuck us again, basically. I appreciate his optimism. I said I appreciate his optimism, but I fully expect the Supreme Court to screw us yet again. So what this case is I'm going to pull up my buddy John Crump's article here. So if you guys want to read through this whole thing, you can, but live stream figures, here we go. This is from AmmoLand. There's the title, AmmoLand, and by John Crump. This is published yesterday. And this is dealing with the Hawaii case. So for those of you guys who haven't been following this super closely, basically, Bruin came out, the Bruin decision, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin came out, and in that ruling, the Supreme Court did what they did, and they fumbled the ball on the half-yard line, and they said, yeah, you can't do X, Y, or Z except for in these sensitive places thing, right? So all of these states came out with these Bruin response bills, and they basically said, all right, well, right here, we're going to attack that, and they're just going to turn a whole bunch of stuff into places you can't carry, right? And they're going to put a whole bunch of restrictions on it and all that sort of stuff. Well, this is an exception. So they granted certiorari in the Wolford v. Lopez case, limited to the question presented by the petitioners, focusing on whether Hawaii's stance that private property open to the public can be presumptively designated a gun-free zone unless the property owner posts a notification that guns are allowed. So basically, what Hawaii said was they have to post a sign that says that you're allowed to carry there. So you guys have seen the concealed carry encouraged sign, and so instead of the gun with the red circle strike through on it, it's a green circle with that. You got to post something like that to say that it's cool that it's cool. If they don't have some kind of signage like that, then it is presumed that they don't want it there. That's the question before the court. Of all the things that the Supreme Court could have chosen to take up in recent years, they pick some niche thing like that. But I look at it like this. I'm going to put on my I don't have another hat sitting here, so we'll use this one as the prop. We're going to put on our optimism hat for just a moment and say that whenever the Supreme Court does anything, it is a broad-reaching binding precedent, and it creates a whole bunch of other questions and different responses from different locales. So the fact that the Supreme Court is taking a firearms-related case, and specifically they're taking a case that deals with something like this, means that we are probably going to get some kind of clarification on the constitutionality of different types of provisions that connect to this sort of thing. So if you distill that down, what I mean is that this is a very specific thing, right? You have to put signage up that says that it's not a sensitive place, or that it's not a place that wait, did I word that right? You have to put up a sign that says that you're allowed to carry, and of course sensitive places and all that sort of stuff, right? But otherwise, not okay. What the court typically does is, instead of looking at that specific instance, they look at the governing principles one step removed from that. So one thing up, right? So they basically take a step back from that specific incident, that particular thing, and they say, all right, well, what is analogous behavior that could apply to that situation? And then they will say, hey, because of the uniform application of logic between this, and this is the type of thing that will prevent further encroachment in the future. And that's typically the type of thing that they do. If you read the Bruin decision, for instance, that's kind of how that reads. So instead of saying, hey, no, you can't have instead of saying New York can't do X, Y, or Z when it goes to their concealed carry permit issuance, they basically said, hey, if you got a gun law, you got to base that on something. You can't just make it up as you go along. It's got to be based on text, history, and tradition in the United States, right? So that is them coming one step off that and saying, hey, you got something some kind of historical analog that goes along with the Constitution? No, don't got it, and then can't do it, right? And then they've, again, came back in the Rahimi case and said, well, it doesn't have to be a historical twin. It can be a cousin type thing. So I wanted to cover this to say that it's coming. And we could receive this likely summer next year is probably when we would get some kind of decision on this. This is going to be heard in the upcoming term. I reserve my optimism at that limit and that limit only, because I'm fully expecting the Supreme Court to kind of screw with us, or to screw us yet again. So, somebody's coming in here late. They said, I thought the National Guard didn't get sent to Portland because a judge has temporarily blocked the Trump from doing so. Yes, you're correct. Temporarily has blocked the National Guard from going there. Temporarily. She's a district court judge. She can exercise her power to do that until she is outranked by somebody. So that means that she's a district court judge. That means circuit court, the Trump administration can say, hey, whatever circuit court is out there, say, hey, look at this. And depending on, I think I know which one that is. Circuit Court for Oregon. I must have not. What? Good court governs Oregon. Ninth Circus. Yep. That one's probably not going to go great. If they do their job, if they do what they're supposed to do, then it'll probably go fine, but they won't. So the Ninth Circus is going to basically say, yeah, they're going to probably uphold it, and then they're going to go to the Supreme Court, right? And it'll take a couple weeks, and the National Guard will be there. Now, if you were smart and you were the governor of Oregon and you want your Antifa terrorists out there doing what they're doing, then you would send the National Guard. The governor would do that, because if he federalizes the National Guard and he wins, if Trump federalizes the National Guard and he wins and sends them there, well, now, again, you're dealing with what we talked about earlier in the stream, which is any actions taken against those federalized troops, that's a federal crime. And your lackeys on the street are going to be talking to Harmeet Dillon instead of your local attorney general. If the people in Oregon were smart, that's what they would do. But instead, they're going to force Trump to do that. And the thing about that is, I think that they are far enough out of touch that they think that forcing Trump to do that is good for them politically. That's not how that's working, right? I've got some folks in my circles that are kind of a little bit more on the liberal side, and they're like, yeah, roll them up. We're done with this. And somebody said it earlier in the stream. This movement has gone mainstream. And I love to see it. So that's what I've got for you guys today. I'm going to let you guys get your comments in about the spicy frog, because I have to go to the range today because I don't have the dog today, and I've replaced my suppressor host, my 9mm suppressor host, because of what Glock did. I haven't replaced my 45 one yet, but I don't do very many 45 cans. So I've got a new 9mm handgun that I got to go test today. And I've got some stuff that I got to do in the shop before I can do that, because I got to put the suppressor sights on it and all that sort of stuff because it didn't come with them. And then I got to go out to the range and test fire, because that is going to be part of another project that's going to be happening later in the week. So reminder that in order to win The best comment on the spicy frog, and for reference, we will watch it one more time. Best comment wins. Thanks for tuning in into the VSO Gun Channel. I had a great time today streaming with you guys, and hopefully we'll see you on another one here pretty soon.